to church.
Kind of slide over here, get your frame with those. Kind of slide over there. Slide over there. We'll get you framed on that background there.
No, I was in the lawn.
Right. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
It is.
Oh, you can tell.
Hi, how are you? Just kind of taking pictures of this. Thank you.
Is this it? Okay, first off, I want to make sure we all are good stewards of Ms. Giovanni's time. So just want you all with the media partners to introduce yourselves. My name is Willie Cock. I'm in the President's office here. I manage public relations for the college, just in case many of you do not know me. So,
And let me assure you, I have a plane to catch in the morning, but between now and then, I've got nothing else to do. So you don't have to rush or worry about me. I had 12 hours. I stand there and answer questions all 12 of them.
if you all would like to go ahead and introduce yourselves and what publications you're with, we'll start on the left side of the room.
Okay. I'm William Jackson. I teach here. I teach education technology. I also teach at Giovanii County Public Schools. I also blog with Jacksonville.com, First Coast News, and Black Bloggers Connect. So it's a real pleasure coming to talk to you.
You sure you have a brother who's a newscaster in Atlanta?
I've been told that before.
Oh, yeah, you look, because I was looking at the news this morning. Well, we flew over here in 60-mile-an-hour wind, so
Right.
you can imagine. I think my stomach is probably over alphabet.
Yes, sir.
And I thought, when I saw you,
Okay, I'm very compliment. I appreciate that.
newscaster is, man.
Lynn Jones, Jacksonville Free Press, Lynn and Friends TV show, originally from Detroit, Michigan. Been here a long time. And Miss Nikki, it's a pleasure to see you. It's been a long time. I'll say a long time ago, but yeah, you're still looking good.
Oh, thank you.
Greg Miller, I do freelance photography and shoot for People's Advocate and other newspapers around town, primarily African American newspapers. And I've been a fan of yours for quite a long time. It's back in the 70s. And I saw you in Grand Rapids, Michigan, at the church. And also at the British when you were here. So,
I was here. After, see?
yeah,
Yeah.
the British theater.
This is actually, I was in Athens. I was in Athens, Greece, Monday, and I flew home and taught Tuesday. I had originally conceived of, I'm going from Athens, Greece to Los Angeles, California, to stop over in Blacksburg. But then, because my office keeps me on a need to know, and so I get to LA and it's like, and you're going to spend the night in Denver because you're speaking the morning in Denver. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. But you're going to leave Denver and go to Atlanta, and you're going to spend the night in Atlanta so you can come to Jacksonville.
Okay.
So I was so proud that I actually know where I am.
Right.
I am. That's exactly. So I'm actually going from Athens, Greece to Blacksburg eventually with stopovers in LA and Denver and Jacksonville. Like,
Yeah, so we were all one time why he disappeared periodically. He said, yeah, there's nothing creative about a holiday. And
It was right
you wake up,
around
you don't even know what town you're in.
It was right about there. I'm sorry.
Hello, my name is Giovani Jackson. I recently graduated from Maryland State University, and I'm a columnist and contributing writer for HBCU Digest.
All right.
It's been an honor.
Young lady. How might I serve?
Questions?
Comments?
Well, mine is academic, being a teacher, and my question to you is, with your experience and your background, I know today you mentioned a lot of things for the young people about education and technology. But since they're ingrained in so much technology, what are your words of wisdom or suggestions to the young people about using it effectively and morally?
I think, well, I don't know what moral, I mean, that would be beyond, I think, my capacity right now, we used to think that way. But I think effectively, you have to filter out what's important and what's not important. And I think you have to know what is useful to you and what is not. And I say that to my students. I am a poet, and so I would never ask a question like in, 1920, what event occurred that, none of that.
Okay.
Because they would look it up. And if I said you couldn't look it up, they've got the damn watches. I mean, you can look up things, and so instead I ask emotional questions, which being at Virginia Tech, throws most of our students off. Like, I'm not used to emotional questions. Well, that's, how do you think, personal ambition played a part in the Harlem Renaissance, as opposed to this particular event or that? Because if I do that, they'll get the answer, but they'll miss the knowledge. Did I just? And so I think that kids, I'm so happy to see this generation making use of technology, and I said it because we're at a small school here, but I say it again, very consistent with every child in America in school needs a computer. Look at it as a job program, but they all need a computer. And no one more so than the inner city, because those kids are accessing knowledge without really the tools, And as a writer of books, one of the things that's happening that has been upsetting to the book industry is that we are going electronic, but I read electronically. And so the thing is not, will the bookstores will the bookstores suffer from the electronic revolution? Bad bookstores will. I'm a capitalist. And we keep, because what we've got here is socialism for the rich. This is not capitalism, because with capitalism, almost all of those people that were broke would be, that we subsidize would be broke. So, but I'm an old-fashioned capitalist. They'd be gone. You see what I'm saying? The bookstores are going to have to find a way to sell an electronic book and get a percentage of it. It's that simple. It's in our best interest. And that's what capitalism is supposed to be. It's in our best interest to share with the bookstores so that people can come in and see the book and then purchase them electronically. They're going to work it out eventually because people need books. And that's the one thing that we're not going to replace knowledge that comes from books. This is not going to happen. And we can blog and we can tweet and we can Google and we can do a lot of things. And we also are finding out that many of these things are intrusive. Books are not intrusive. Books don't spy on you. Books don't watch you when you're having sex or when you picking your nose. Books just give you information. And so people need to, make sure that they're just getting a book. And they also don't do pop-up ads. And that'll be a sad day. That's something that I would fight against. I'm a poet, so I don't have that question right now. The novelists are beginning to have that question of whether or not we're going to have electronic books with ads. I think it's a bad idea. Yes, ma'am.
My question I was stating is about hair. And Nikki, you've been doing your natural hair since we've known you in high school. High school. That's what I'm saying, high school, and that's a long time. You said that you're 68 years old. And I'm 50, and I know I've been wearing this hair since 1994, 15, so many years. And it was a lot of confidence. You walk in a room because a lot of women can't do it. But nowadays, it seems like, and I know, like you said, you wouldn't say anything in front of a white, you wouldn't say it in front of a black. And many young girls and women are addicted to this hair. What do you have to say about that? I mean, your natural, of your identity that we've taken away. I've gone to the store, it's like I see everybody with patches of hair all on their head.
Yeah, I think
what you think about that?
It's kind of clever. I mean,
It's kind of clever.
one place with oneself. And to a great degree, people my age, we played with natural hair because that was the big thing. And I was laughing about Martin, but it's true. I think if Martin were with us today, despite, well, Daddy King is gone, so he Martin, I don't want to give the impression you know who Dr. King is. He was his own man, but his father had a great deal of influence. And he's not going to fight Daddy King about something like hair or tattoos. I mean, that's just, you can read any biography and do anything. I'm not an intimate of King's, But if he were here today, he would have grades. Or he would have been playing. Yeah, because he was always hit. Okay. And so I'm saying every generation plays with their hair. I love it. You see the girls and they got like green. And of course I'm blonde. And I went blonde because I had cancer. And I looked so bad, after my operation, I had a lung removed and 2 ribs. And I don't mean I was ugly, just, I was sick. I didn't want my mother to see me.
Yes.
After I had the operation in Cincinnati, she lived in Blacksburg at that point. And I had to be there for a month. I was in the hospital for a month. So you know what you look like when you're on your back for a month. And I was trying to say to myself, what can I do that my mother would see me and know that I'm going to be all right? And being a black woman, you go blonde because it's an automatic tan.
Okay.
It is. It's an automatic tan. You know, you're all used to seeing me, but if I had other hair, you'd see that I'm not nearly as brown as I don't look as good.
Okay.
And you would be, if we darkened your hair, you would
Yes,
be good.
I changed, yeah.
Yeah, and so I went blonde because it did. When Mommy saw me, I didn't look nearly as sick as I was.
Yeah.
And then I started to like it, I enjoyed it, and my hair has been going down. You can see old pictures of me, but that's not so old, but I used to have a big fro, and then it goes down and down and down. You know, my friend Pearl Clay once shaved her head for, I used to babysit Pearl.
Did you?
Yeah, she always said you didn't, but I did, because there's a lot of difference between 12 and 20.
Yeah.
And it is. And Reverend Clegg was always looking for somebody to, he had custody of his daughters.
Yeah.
Both of them. And he was doing marches. You're Detroit, so you know that. He was doing marches, and so, this was so no-brainers. He would say, well, I need somebody to stay with the girls. And I thought, you gotta be kidding. I could go downtown and get hit in the head, or I could stay with the girls and do an important deed. So I did. But we laughed, and I take credit. I always tell Miss Pearl that. I always take credit for your writing, because if I hadn't been reading to you all, you would have never done that. And the other kid that I had an effect on that I used to babysit was Eric Wilberton, who used to be the head of 5. And it's like, Eric, you owe me. If I hadn't been, reading to you and encouraging you, you would laugh. Eric is, these are kids used to babysit. It's nice to see that. But that's why, and I don't have an objection to, I just don't. Women, the hair in the head essentially is pubic hair, so women have always used their hair as an attraction.
Okay.
Men get away with being bald.
Yeah.
Somehow that's considered, sexy. But basically, women, that's what the hair is. No, that's why you don't let everybody. My students and I actually were talking about that, because I'm doing Renaissance. You don't let anybody just put their hands on your head. You know how people, always want, it's the one thing, people pat you on your back, and people, people like me, I'm a public figure, so people want to touch you, and, I accept that, but I really don't like anybody putting their hands on my head. And if you reach for it and I see it coming, definitely I'm stopping it, because it's a violation. Putting it on the shoulder, something like that would. So I think the girls do, I'm happy for the girls to do what they do that makes them feel they look good.
All right.
And Cleopatra did makeup. These are things that have been around forever. And I'm so proud of the men, because now men are putting earrings in, and everybody used to laugh at them. Then Michael Jordan got an earring, and all of a sudden that's like really cool, And the men can do a little bit more with dyeing their hair, and some of the things that they do. But it's nice, because I don't know anybody now that doesn't have manicure.
Yeah.
Almost all of the men I know all have manicures. They do it, first of all, it's relaxing. You get your manicure and your pedicure, and you're on your feet, all of us, men and women. So men are finally realizing, I don't have to be in pain. I can get massages. I can get a pedicure, a manicure. I can feel good about myself, because that's what it's all about.
What do you say about people who question the validity of HBCUs?
I say that they're stupid. Nobody questions the validity of Notre Dame or Brandeis. Why is it every time America wants to have something to say, it's about the black people? Of course we need the HBCUs, and we need the HBCUs to get their fair share of the money. Harvard has, I think, $1 billion or so, I think more than $1 billion actually, in their endowment that they got because Fisk didn't have one, because Talladega didn't have one, because Tougaloo didn't have one. And so they've taken our labor and our money and poured it into their institution, then they tell us that we poor. Well, hell, who wouldn't be?
Okay.
But I was saying, if I had another life to live, which I don't, I would probably go to law school, because I really enjoy law school, and I would sue Tommy Hilfiger. And you say, why Tommy? Because Tommy doesn't do anything but come into the black community, see what the B-boys are wearing, and put those out as designer clothes. So he owes us. And I would sue for my fair share. He would not have any clothes if it wouldn't be for what the B-boys are wearing. That's the truth. Just look at it. Now, Ralph Lauren and them, you know, Ralph has his issues, especially in the sweats. But Tommy is definitely, it's the black boys that taught him how to dress. And that's where he gets it from. So they need their 20% of that for, you know, inspiration or whatever. Oh, yeah. If we had money for what we've done, you know, we could sue the whole state of Utah. Because what would the Osmonds be without the Jackson 5?
You know.
On and on.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be nothing, right? Remember the Mormon, and I got nothing, you know, I dislike, I am not a Republican, but I dislike the way that Mitt Romney is being treated. I think it's hypocritical and I think it's wrong. I don't want to particularly see Mitt Romney or any of them be president, but I don't think you can pick on this boy because he grew up in a religion. But I was going to say, you know, the sound of Utah was the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. You have to remember that. And then the next big group that they had, which was still doing 4-part harmony, which where do we get that from, boys and girls, was the King Sisters.
Talk to me.
Right?
We know all of
And
that.
then the Jackson 5 came out, and the Osmonds, because I remember the Osmond brothers were singing, and I don't remember, history show, they were singing barbershop.
Yes.
And with the Jackson 5, I remember the first time I heard the Osmond boys, and I thought, wow, Michael is exhausted. Because they were one lead apple won't stop the whole bunch of people. Oh, but he was coming in behind the beat. And go back and listen to it. You can listen to the Osmond, go back and listen. He's behind the beat. And I thought, damn, Michael, they must be working this boy to death because Michael would never have been behind the beat like that. He was always on the beat. And then you realize, oh, I mean, that's like Vanilla Ice. And then, you see what I'm saying? And so I'm just saying, if black people had if we got paid for what we've invented, we wouldn't have the problems that we are having right now.
Where's the royalty check?
There you go. I'm serious. Where is it?
You talked about Christianity and about the gays in the church. Now, what were you saying as far as the stance on them, as far as telling gays?
Oh, see, I just have really strong feelings about that. I do, because I think of gay rights as civil rights. And I think that the church, again, to use an old term, the God that I worship, does not condemn people. And to watch especially the mega churches, I've been mad at TD Jakes because I think it's just spreading hate. To watch people stand up and condemn these youngsters, or oldsters, or whatever they're, but to condemn people because of a choice that they make as grown-ups. I'm just not, no. Condemn the pedophiles. I'm with you on that. Expose the Tiger Woods and all them women he's flying around the world, because I think that's trashy. Right? He can do it, but I think you got to answer for that. But I think that you have a right to your body. And I think as a grown person having sex with or falling in love with, and I should have said that I'm tired, or marrying someone of your choosing is your right. And we had to pass the 15th Amendment in the United States for me to own my body, for me to now be sitting down, that's what I was trying to say, I hope I said it, and watch the Newt Gingrich and the Rick Santorums of the world trying to take away what we had to fight a civil war for, which was for me to own myself. And now we got a bunch of guys standing on stage, which has a social issue, has nothing to do with bridges, which are falling down, has nothing to do with roads, which are not being built, has nothing to do with job creation, has to do with bullshit, standing around telling women, and there's no other way for that, I'm sorry, telling women what they should do with their bodies. And that's ridiculous. We were trying to pass a law in Virginia where, and it finally had to be, a fertilized egg is a person. Well, that wreaks havoc. You don't have to be smart to figure that one out. If a fertilized egg is a person, then me getting on a plane, it's not going to happen to me. I don't have any fertilized egg. But if I do, then I have to buy 2 tickets. I mean, people were walking it through. But we had a senator, a state senator, who proposed a counter law, which I love. If women are going to have ultrasound to find out if they have fertilized egg, then men should have to have rectal examinations. And all of a sudden everybody's like, well, we don't like that. But the reality is, these are not questions of the body politic. My right to my body is not subject to your vote or your approval. There are things that I cannot do with my body. I cannot kill you. I cannot do things like that. But I have a right. Jesus is, if I left eye offend, if I right eye offended, he said, she was right about that. Pluck it out. I have a right to deal with my body in a way that makes sense to me, whether I am gay, or whether I am pregnant, or whether whatever. I have a right to my body. You have a right to not like it, but you don't have a right to interfere with it. You see what I mean? I just think that's so crazy that we're running a presidential campaign where we have 3 wars and 1 pending, where we have unemployment, we're considering unemployment at 9%, and there's nobody in this room of color that thinks that that's the number. In the black community, we're close to 20%, because we only count the people for unemployment who are looking for employment and expect to get it. And so many people are no longer doing that. We're looking at schools that are crumbling. We're looking at an issue that I think is an incredibly important issue, because I favor the immigrants who are coming, or I guess they would be they're immigrants, who are coming across our borders. The idea that we would spend $3 million for 10 miles of border to prevent someone from coming into Arizona so that they could then pick beets. Nobody's coming into Arizona. Nobody's coming from El Salvador, walking, hitching rides, risking their lives, coming over here so that they can then be college presidents. It's like, hi, I'm an immigrant, I'm going to take your chance. That's just crap. And people are getting away with talking that kind of talk, and again, it's spreading hate. So that Alabama, your neighbor, our neighbor, everybody's neighbor, has passed a law that you can be stopped on the street and you have to produce your papers. Well, this is America, so we're all immigrants. Some of us unwilling, some of us willing, but we are all immigrants. And how we now decide we don't want these people to come to these shores and be a part of us. Every time you bring anything new into the field, it helps whatever is growing, right? It's an old farmer's thing. If you don't keep something wild in the field, when the fungus comes, it's going to eat it. It's going to destroy it. One of the reasons that the Irish ended up with the potato famine, as we all know, I didn't do that tonight, but I could have. Actually, given where I am. One of the reasons that they did was that the potato, we know is Irish potato, was so successful. If you had that and a little butter and a glass of milk, you had your nutrients. It was so successful that people quit growing other potatoes. And after a while, there was nothing growing but that potato. So it didn't take fungus very long to realize, oh, if I can get hold, which it did, I'll wipe it out, which it did. You always, any farmer will tell you that, I'm not saying that, but any farmer will tell you that. You always keep something wild in the field, so that when the blights come, there's something that is immune to the blight. That's why I like the hip-hop generation. They are that wild thing in the field that we now don't control. We will eventually, they will take over. They have pretty much done that. So hip-hop has changed considerably. But there's something else there. There always has to be something else. Because without that something else, all you have to do is wipe it out. You know why everybody, I think, is so upset about the Occupy movement? Because it doesn't have any leaders. But if it had leaders, you know what would happen to them? They would be killed. We've seen that. We've seen that. Didn't we just live through the last 30 years? If Occupy had a head, they found a way to cut it off. And so Occupy recognized that. That's what's wild right now in the field. And so you had our Eric Cantor from Virginia, it's an embarrassment, calling these people riots. They're a mob. No, baby, I've seen mobs. Mobs lynch people. Mobs burn buildings down. Mobs rape people. These people are occupying. These people are exercising their Fourth Amendment. Eric, have you read the Constitution lately, baby? They have a right to occupy public space to say we are being mistreated. But they don't have a leader, so you can't stop them. I love it. Good for them. Sure, whatever.
Well, in the category of things you find while you're looking up other things, I found out that you had a connection with John Oliver Killen.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And I also found out that he went to school here in 1934.
That I did not know.
Okay.
He's from Columbus, wasn't he?
Columbus, Georgia.
Georgia,
Mhm.
yeah. And of course, he was in the Army, but he taught at Fisk. We recruited John. I was one of the students. We wanted Fisk to continue its literary heritage. And we recruited John to Fisk. He started the Writers' Workshop. And we had our first, for a long time, we hadn't had our Arts Festival. And John reinstituted the Arts Festival. First person to come, among the first people, I should say, was Melvin Tolson. And of course, Denzel did The Great Debaters, and that was Melvin. Melvin was a stand-up guy. Melvin was wonderful. And I had the incredible pleasure of escorting Mr. Tolson, Dr. Tolson actually, around. You know, he was real thin, good-looking guy, and incredible. You know, he said, Tolson was the one that said, we judge a civilization in its decline. And he's right about that. He's got great poetry, but my favorite Melvin Tolson was, when the skins are dry, the flies will go home. Incredible. He's just an incredible man. And of course, you've seen The Great Debaters. I thought Denzel did an excellent job in showing that. And of course, you also got James Farmer right there. You know, and so you really want to see these kind of movies be made. You really want to see Red Tails. You really want, you know, it's an amazing thing. And I know they have to, but it's amazing that one of our premier directors had to spend 6 years trying to get a movie made. If that had been a movie about a white fighters, and you're talking about the people that win, boom. If that had been Brad Pitt instead of Terrence Howard, boom. And that's why, you know, people don't understand what makes you angry. And of course, I'm an old woman, but it just makes you mad.
James Stewart did a couple, and it's like real quick about the old Air Force, you know, Strategic Air Command.
Oh, we understand. James Stewart and Allison, Allison, what is her name? Because she played the wife.
Right.
Yeah. No. And of course, Grace Kelly, Bill Holden, Bridges of Toko, all of those kind of things were made. Red Tails was an important film. And I saw it in Southwest Virginia. You know, if you go to Southwest Virginia, you start sweeping, and you swept for a long time, you might come up with 5 Negroes. So, I mean, there just ain't nobody there. And so I went to the theater. I go with a friend of mine who has multiple sclerosis, and we go in the afternoon, you know, because Carol has to be pushed in and stuff. You know, she's my movie date all the time. And it's always so nice to go, but we have to go in the afternoon so that, you know, she's not being pushed around because she has no use of her legs. You know, she can sit inside when we get our popcorn. So we're sitting in there thinking, well, nobody's going to be in for Red Tails. You know, nobody will come, you know. We knew, because we saw The Help together, we knew all the old white ladies would come to see The Help because it's nostalgia. Oh, I remember.
Good old me.
So we're going to see Red Tails, and we're thinking, well, nobody's going to be there. We get some popcorn and we sit down. And then all of these old soldiers, these old white guys coming in, and you know, I'm thinking, how's this going? You know, I mean, I'm a nervous individual. I mean, I'm cool, but, you know, you know, you're aware. And then in the theater, and it's a small, you know, it's a 7 theater kind of thing. So, and the place filled up, and I'm thinking, oh, this has potential to be ugly, you know, because you recognize where you are. And the first time they started doing it, the old white guy, yeah, get them! And by the time they were shooting down there, get them, Jerry, yeah! So don't tell me they won't come and see a good film, you know? Because they were right there with it. I mean, you know, and I don't think that Southwest was any different from Red Tails. You know, we wanted to go on opening, and that's something you know, you always have to do. We want to go on opening day to make sure it opened well, it opened number 2. And that was really good, you know. And when Terrence Howard said to that bigot, remember, and he said, you know, I still don't think, you know, that any Negro, I'm sure that's not what he said, should be a fighter pilot. And Terrence Howard said, we don't care. Whole theater was like, yeah! And it was just a wonderful moment because it said people do what we expect them to do. That's what people do. Most of us learn by what the public expectation is. So if the public expectation is that we hate, then we start hating. Then we see somebody walking down the street, we beat them up, or we spit at them. There was a time a black man, a black woman, or a white woman couldn't walk down the street because anybody would have thought they had a right to say something about it. Now, whether they have anything, whether they think anything about it or not, is not the point. They know that they don't have any right. And eventually, since most things are habituated, you get out of the habit of hating. Hatred is a habit. And we either encourage it or we discourage it, which goes back to your question about the gay community or anything else. We either encourage people to beat up the people that we think are gay, or we encourage them to leave them alone. We at Virginia Tech on 9/11 affected everybody, but we at Virginia Tech have a large contingency of our students are from the Nova area, and many of our students, as you know, have parents involved in the federal government as well as in the Pentagon. So as 9/11, as the buildings are coming down, as we now have the thing, you know, it felt like war where we were. As the plane went down in Pittsburgh, and then when the Pentagon got hit, I was in class, it was a Tuesday, if you recall, and I said to my students, because we always tell them to turn your phone off, and if we're watching that, turn your phone on, see if you can, you know, because everybody's trying to reach their parents. We had a rally because the students wanted to have a rally, and the students invited 3 people to address them. Dr. Steger, Charles Steger, who was our president, Frank Beamer, who was our coach, and me. And so I was, of course, thrilled to be there, and you know, you do what you can to offer whatever hope that you can offer. Dr. Steger spoke for the university, and again, we're all trying to just make this, you know, you can't make it all right, but to make some sense out of it. But it was Frank, and the reason I'm sharing this is that Frank got up. You know, Frank is articulate, but he mumbles like most coaches and things do. And Frank got up in front of our student body, and of course he had a local feed on that. We didn't have an international feed, we had a local feed on it. And he said, everybody plays on my team. Everybody plays on my team. My team has room for everybody. I will be disappointed if anybody hurts anybody here. That's it. We did not have our Indian and our Muslim students beaten up because of what Frank said. It wasn't because of what I said, it wasn't because of what Charles said, it's because of what Frank said. And I thought, how courageous, because I'm not a big Joe Paterno fan. Sorry he's dead, and I'm glad Sandusky's caught. But you didn't see Joe Paterno stand up and say to Penn State, don't touch the brown students. I will be disappointed. You didn't see that boy, Giovanii, up at Syracuse. You didn't see them addressing the student body. You didn't see any major coach address the student body and therefore the surrounding community to say, don't do that. And so we talk about Virginia Tech. I've always admired Frank, we get along. But I never loved him as much as I did that day, because if something had happened, if any incident had happened, it was Frank balls on the line. It would show he was a unit. It would show he had no power, which is why a lot of those other coaches didn't want to take that kind of chance. Because what if their students did jump off? Then Frank never hesitated. You have to admire that. I mean, I do. He's a good guy. And I just like people who stand up. And Frank has always stood up for Virginia Tech. He stood up for the best of all of us.
Well,
You had one more question.
I have one more. Where do you stand up a lot for the hip hop generation, but where do you draw the line, especially as a self-aware woman, between art and misogyny?
Oh, some of it is misogynist, but I'm a blues fan. No, I mean, we make too much of that. I don't know a blues song that doesn't talk about that bitch, she left me. No, really, everything, it rained today, that is just the bitch's fault. Am I right?
I mean, but you make a great synopsis. I mean, we had never thought about it like that, so who am I to talk about hip-hop? I can't even talk about it anymore. You just talk about it.
It's the blues.
I can't say nothing no more.
It's just what
Oh my God, I ain't thought about
Yeah,
that.
it's just what we do. And of course, the women answer back. I was sorry about Whitney, because I thought, what a loss. But I tell you, my heart broke when Etta died.
Yeah.
What a wonderful, you know, just, I mean, of course, that last is classic. But she twitch, I'd rather go blind than see you walking out. No, you have to love the blues. And as we know our blues, we see that hip-hop is on that trend.
But I have to talk to my kids at my school, at the elementary school, about the different types of music. And it's interesting when you talk to little boys like 4th and 5th, they know some of the blues because their grandparents listen to it. So they can relate to blues and hip-hop. So we really get into a good discussion about it. And it's like they're smarter than what a lot of people think. So, you know, you do have to give them credit.
You know, we got Nelly, and that was fair enough. You remember when Nelly swiped that? And
Yeah.
okay.
You didn't think that was fair, though?
No.
He was helping his sister. because the tips are...
No, you can't do that. And you can't do that and go to Spelman and think those girls gonna let you get away with it. See, it doesn't matter what line I think. When the girls know the line has been crossed,
Yeah.
they let the boys know. They really do. I mean, they do, they take care. And I'm not saying they don't, I'm not abdicating my responsibility. But the girls know more about what insults them. I thought that Nellie was a bit over the top.
Yeah.
But the Spelman girls stopped it. See? It's like, no, that wasn't funny. And so that got cleared up, didn't it? And the whole hip-hop generation said, can't do things like that. And yeah, I mean, you know, so I have a lot of faith in the people. I'm a 60s person. And so I was never the person that thought the people needed me to tell them what to do. I thought my job is to see what the people are doing and take that voice. I do have a voice, and I think that that's what my job is, to articulate. I don't have to apologize for the people, but I do watch, and I think the people are good. When I look at how long, it's almost 300 years, the people have not only survived, but thrived. And so I have a lot of, not just faith, but a lot of joy in watching how the people conduct their business. And they don't have to conduct it to suit me, they have to conduct it to suit the better. I was telling a joke, and then I will go. I was telling a joke the other day, because I was talking to some kids. You know something? I really love the way black women conduct their business. I admit I admire it. I've always been in awe of it. But I was trying to explain to them about the Montgomery bus boycott and how the maids conducted themselves doing that. Because the maids needed to work. And in order to break the boycott, you know, the maids had to get to work. So that meant that the women had to come and get them. But now you have white women doing that white woman thing, because remember the sheriff was being very upset. We could break this boycott if you all wouldn't go and get your maids. And so you had this woman, this is a story got past that, had this woman who's saying to her maid, you know, Maybelle, you know, there's a bus boycott going on, ma'am. She said, are you a part of the bus boycott? You know, she said, no ma'am, no ma'am, and I'm gonna stop them buses till this trouble is over. I love people to think like that. So she says, Maybelle is not boycotting. I asked her, and she said no. That she's gonna stay off this. I love it. Because anything else she said is gonna cost her her job. On the other hand, she did do a little bit of, because she did follow through. You know, I'm not, and I'm staying on the buses. You know, now you deal with it. I love it. You gotta love people, but that's the kind of skating we had to do to get to here. So the people are not lacking. The people are a living entity, and it's our job to keep seeing it. You know, I'm just an artist, and so that's what I do. I see.
I have a question